Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat. Resolves.
Right.
Now, before you attack
Does
me-
anyone have an answer?
Well played.
Good game.
Hello, friends. We have more Kaldheim excitement. My name is DJ. You're watching the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and today I want to build a deck around Kardur Doomscourge. Kardur Doomscourge is 2 black-red for a 4/3 legendary demon berserker. When Kardur enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. If that text sounds familiar, it's Goad. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. This is an incredibly exciting commander because it weaponizes your opponents against each other. It has an interesting Aristocrats component to it. I am so excited to build this commander because it uses my favorite mechanic, Goad. Goading all of your opponent's creatures is incredibly good. The reason why is because it helps spread damage around, but also it opens up lines of attack for yourself. It's also a great way to neutralize your opponent's utility creatures. Speaking of opening up lines of attack, Grenzo Havoc Razor can build upon itself, allowing it to get in for damage and then goading even more, or stealing your opponent's cards. Agitator Ant will up the damage of your opponent's creatures, making them bigger and bigger, but it does force them to attack someone else. This is on the lower end of the power scale. Geode Rager is a new card out of the Zendikar commander decks, and it's great because it has repeatable goad on it, allowing you to target a player over and over again. Bloodthirsty Blade is another repeatable source of goad, attaching it to your opponent's creatures, making them swing in, spreading damage around, and also putting those utility creatures into harm's way. Parasitic Impetus is just a fun aura that doesn't just remove a creature, but sends it another direction. And Disrupt Decorum is another copy of your commander. I love Disrupt Decorum. The price of it has gone up because other people have found a love for it too. It's amazing that you can have a copy in your command zone. I want to pause really quickly to shout out my sponsor, Dragon Shield. They have new sleeves in celebration of Kaldheim. Look at these things. They look so good and so cool. If you are building a commander deck from Kaldheim, I think that you need these sleeves to be gracing your deck. They're so good. They also have the legendary protection and value that comes with Dragon Shield products. All right, let's keep going with the deck tech. So Goad makes your opponents attack, but there's not a critical mass of Goad cards out there. It's a pretty new and a pretty powerful effect, so we're not going to see it very often. We can also incentivize attacking. We can even incentivize attacking by giving your opponents creatures. Hunted Horror gives you a 7/7 trample for 2, and your opponent has 2 3/3 green centaur creature tokens with protection from black. In 1v1, this has been underwhelming, but if you can guarantee that these centaurs are turned against someone else, then this just becomes more damage that you're spreading around the table. Hunted Dragon gives you a 6/6 flying hasty dragon for only 5 mana, but someone else is going to get 3 2/2 knights with first strike. These seem like bad cards, but if you can use them politically, make sure that these tokens are not used against you, then they're actually amazing 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, 5-for-1s. The Tempt series is really fun too. Tempt with Vengeance puts a ton of elementals onto the battlefield, and you can grant your opponent's ability to get those elementals as well. If you have an Aristocrats component of your commander and in this deck, then these little 1/1s dying are going to be enough to drain the table out. Tempt with Immortality might be good too. Just get a bunch of creatures on the battlefield. You're going to be goading them at your opponents anyways. I also feel like it's fine to give your opponents tokens if they never come at you. Varchild, Betrayer of Kaldor, and Relic Robber will grant tokens, but you're assured that they won't be turned at you. Curse of Disturbance can give your opponents zombies, but again, you're going to be generating zombies yourself, and this is another way to funnel attacks away from you. Captive Audience is a game-winning card. I'm surprised I don't see it more often, but giving your opponents 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens so you can just goad them and spread even more damage around the table seems amazing. You can also incentivize attacks with cards like Frontier Warmonger, giving everything Menace, Frenzied Saddlebrute, giving everything Haste. You can even pump your opponent's attacking creatures. Warmonger Hellkite can pay 1 in a red, attacking creatures get +1/+0. You can use this anthem for yourself as well, that's fine. This also makes all your creatures attack, so that's pretty fun. Crown of Doom is sort of a mana sink. It taxes your opponent's mana because they have to pass around this horrible crown that pumps your opponent's creatures. And then what's great is that when you're sending your opponent's creatures into combat, you are also draining them out with Kardur's second ability. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So spreading damage around is really good in Aristocrat strategies because, look, getting 40 triggers is very difficult because that means 40 creatures have to die. If you have several of these effects going on, then you only have to get 20 creatures to die. Maybe that's still a lot of creatures. So what you do want to do is spread damage around so that you only need a handful of creatures to really threaten your opponent's life total. Along with Kardur in this deck, I'm excited to bring Blood Art, a Spiteful Prankster, Falconwrath Noble, and Sir Conrad the Grim. All of these specifically trigger whenever another creature dies. There are a series of these aristocrats that trigger whenever your creatures die, but remember, we're sending our opponent's creatures into combat, so we want to punish our opponents when their centaurs die or when their zombies that we granted them die. Whenever we goad the battlefield, it will definitely open up lines for our own attack. And that's really fun because red and black have some great attacking creatures. Kiru Mind Eater is an example of card advantage through attacking. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they exile a card from their hand face down, and I can play that card, which is pretty fun. Scythe Claw is another example of damage if it gets through. If I deal combat damage to someone, they're going to lose half their life rounded up. Swords have really amazing effects when they hit opponents. There are a bunch of cards in black that will do extra damage when they connect. And then Goldspan Dragon, a new card, had to give it a shout out because it's so good. It makes treasures when you attack. And so being able to ramp, get card advantage, deal extra damage, all because we have those lanes of attacking open thanks to our commander is really great. There are also some creatures that give even more back when they can deal that combat damage. Combat Celebrant. This is a very fragile creature as a 4/1, but when you exert it, you get to untap all your other creatures and get another attack phase. If your opponents don't have creatures, or if they're sent somewhere else, goaded at another player, then you can get extra combat phases all the time. Port Razor is really similar. 5 mana, 4/4, deals combat damage to a player, get to untap all the creatures you control and get a second combat phase. The catch is that Port Razor can't attack a player it's already attacked this turn. Aw shucks, unless we're playing multiplayer. Yes. Breath of Fury is an aura. Attach it to some of these creatures, maybe some of these tokens, deal combat damage, get another attack phase, and then re-equip Breath of Fury and do it all over again. There's definitely combos out there with Breath of Fury. And then finally, if we're incentivizing attacking everyone else, we want to open up lines of attack. Let's talk about Monarch. It's a great mechanic to get people to attack each other. That's exactly what we want. But also, if everyone is goaded and no one's attacking us, then we can hold the Monarch and we can draw more cards. Emberwild Captain is going to give us the Monarch, punish our opponents for attacking us. Again, punishing them, little bits of extra damage so the Aristocrat strategy can take hold so that other opponents can attack is amazing. Court of Fire, just super duper solid. So how does Kardur Goading Combat Chaos play as a deck? Well, it ends up playing really well because we have this really solid creature base that can deal a lot of damage but also defend us really well, and has this great enter the battlefield mechanic along with it. I mean, we've got Gonti and Grave Titan and Grey Merchant of Asphodel giving us this enter the battlefield effect. We also have cards that help defend us as well. We've got Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. We also have cards that send our opponents in other directions. The Monarch mechanic does that with the Custody Lich and the Emberwild Captain, these courts. We also have some enchantments like these Curse of Disturbance and Opulence that can reward our opponents for attacking other places. And we also have these taxation effects like Sir Conrad or Spiteful Prankster, which can kind of benefit us as we trade away our creatures. And then once we have a big enough board, everything's been gummed up, bam, our commander can hit the battlefield. We can start playing more of our Goad mechanics. You know, we still run Disrupt Decorum too. So we can send our opponent's creatures everywhere, and then hopefully this damage can drain them out. But this deck has a lot of staying power as well. We have ways to bring everything back, including our opponent's creatures. This Living Death is going to be huge. Setting up the board again, and then bam, goading everyone to attacking other people. I love the recursion that we have in here, but then also the recursion feeds into the other strategies that we have. Again, this Aristocrats strategy. We have a few sacrifice outlets and a few different ways to gain value. I think some of my favorite sacrifice outlets has to be Bolas's Citadel. Just imagine sacrificing 10 creatures, even doing so in combat to try to get double triggers, draining 10, draining with Kardur, draining with our Blood Artist, and that's the way that we close out games. Pressuring with damage, having defense, sending our opponent's creatures at each other, and then having this great closing effect with our Aristocrats and our value. Thank you so much for watching this video from Kaldheim. Again, if you like awesome sleeves, pick them up from Dragon Shield, and one of the places you can get them is Cool Stuff Inc., the sponsor of the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. Thank you, Cool Stuff Inc. Save 5% with coupon code JUMBO5. I'd also like to thank my patrons. They're amazing. They make these deck techs happen. Thank you, patrons, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more Kaldheim content because these commanders are insane. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.